Hello, welcome to the Green View Talk podcast. Today we will discuss the article, Brazilian Soy at the Epicenter of a New Geopolitics, How China is Repositioning the Global Agricultural Market, written by me, Antonio Fernando Pinheiro Pedro, and the great friends Rafael Posick and Helder Stapite. Brazilian Soy at the Epicenter of a New Geopolitics. How China is repositioning the global agricultural market. The complex web of international commodity trade is undergoing an unprecedented restructuring, and soy has become its main barometer. The year 2025 marks a decisive turning point, where a strategic and long-term shift by China has not only reconfigured trade flows, but also cemented Brazil as the new pillar of global food security. For decades, American agriculture enjoyed a dominant position, supplying the growing Chinese demand. In 2024, the United States was still responsible for half of China's soy imports, an expressive volume of 26.5 million tons. However, the trajectory in 2025 reveals a systematic and almost complete abandonment. With a drastic drop to 5.8 million tons, American soy exports to China have practically ceased. This retraction is not isolated. It extends to other essential crops such as corn, wheat, and cotton, signaling a strategic disengagement that goes beyond circumstantial trade frictions. It is in this scenario of a commercial vacuum that Brazil emerges as an indispensable supplier. Brazil's response to the new Chinese demand has been robust, with soy exports reaching the mark of 77 million tons. This performance not only compensates for the American absence, but also consolidates South America's position as the dominant breadbasket for the Asian nation. It is a demonstration of productive capacity and a logistical alliance that has been strengthened by China's quest for diversification. China's strategy, however, is not reactive. It is a project of autonomy. Since 2012, the Chinese government has been working to reduce its dependence on the United States, aiming not only for price security and supply stability, but also for the mitigation of geopolitical risks. By distributing its purchases among multiple countries, China shields itself against eventual sanctions or interruptions, transforming its market into a tool of power and negotiation. For American farmers, the situation is alarming. Despite the government's commitment to subsidies, the loss of market is a structural blow. The reality is that Chinese demand for soy has not decreased. On the contrary, it has reached record levels. But now that demand is being met by competitors, especially Brazil. In essence, the dynamics of soy in 2025 are a microcosm of a new world order. It illustrates how food security has become a central component of national security, and how a country's internal policy decisions can have global repercussions, redefining the prominence of nations on the chessboard of trade and geopolitics. Implications and challenges for Brazil. Opportunity and the risk of dependence. Brazil's rise as the main supplier of soy to China brings with it a series of implications that go beyond a mere increase in volume and revenue. The consolidation of this partnership not only solidifies the position of Brazilian agribusiness in the global scenario, but also raises questions about long-term risks and sustainability. Firstly, this new commercial configuration reinforces Brazil's strategic importance as a pillar of food security for China. By assuming the role previously held by the U.S., Brazil becomes an indispensable trade partner, which can strengthen its influence in future negotiations. The increase in Chinese demand also encourages investments in infrastructure and logistics in Brazil, such as ports, railways, and highways, which are essential for distributing the growing production. However, the concentration of sales in a single market, however robust, generates considerable dependence. In 2025, Brazil sold 77 million tons of soy to China, a dependence that surpasses that previously held by the United States. This situation, while profitable in the short term, exposes the Brazilian economy to fluctuations and internal political decisions of China. If, for any reason, China decides to diversify again, or if it faces an internal crisis that affects its demand, the impact on the Brazilian economy could be significant. The challenge for Brazil, therefore, is twofold: to capitalize on the current opportunity while actively working to mitigate future risks. This involves seeking new markets to diversify exports, investing in technology to increase productivity and sustainability, and strengthening the internal value chain to reduce vulnerability. The current situation is proof of the resilience and competitiveness of Brazilian agribusiness, but also a reminder that stability in international trade requires caution and a strategic vision that transcends the moment. Thank you for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss in-depth analysis, expert interviews, and inspiring stories that show how Brazilian agriculture is in fact part of the solution to the biggest challenges of our time. See you soon.